So it's been a while. It's actually been a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But not much has really changed until the last few days. Spent most of the last 3 months in the endless monotony of lockdown. And then the last couple of weeks I've been working on the van, upgrading bits, making improvements, and getting ready for this new chapter, which is van life. So I've moved out of my house and I've moved into the van full time. Now, where I left the last videos on a bit of a cliffhanger, where I was telling you about my story and how I got from the beginning of my life to where I am now. So this video is going to be about everything that happened between me turning freelance up to where I am right now, and let's get into it. We're in the Lake District at the moment. We've got Sarah in the back here, who might be giggling from time to time. We're up for the first trip out of lockdown, so we've got a small commercial shoot to do for myself, which will be coming soon as a video. But for now, I will just talk through everything that we're waiting for. So before I can really get started into the next level of videos, I need to really finish up all of my story stuff from before. So we'll get straight into that. As I explained in the last video, my freelance career started with me going off on one big road trip, right from the south of England all the way to the top of Scotland, capturing content for an American tourism board. So I started...
I'm sorry. It's funny.
What is?
The chat.
So I started this in October of 2018, and from the south coast I headed along to Dorset, up via Wales and the Cotswolds, all the way up through the Lake District to Scotland, out to Skye, really ticking off so many areas. As well as shooting for the client, I also was able to capture loads of content for myself, which was a really awesome way to kickstart my freelance career. After finishing this up, I then went straight on another little project to the Isle of Tiree, where I was working with Calmac, who are the ferry company, to help just promote the tourism to the island and the other islands of the Hebrides.
Oh, we were supposed to meet then.
We were supposed to meet then.
But I thought you were being a creep, so I said no.
You stood me up.
I just stood you up. Stood you up, stand you up.
I tried to make a conscious effort throughout this period of time to try and speak to people, be sociable and meet people whilst I was travelling around. I was aware that there was this potential that I could be quite lonely being in the van when I'm away on trips, and I might find that my working life is pretty solitary. So I was trying to link up and make connections with people across the country and stop in and see people throughout this time. After a few weeks back home at Leicester, I was off on the next job, which was up to the east coast of Scotland to shoot a campaign for a Remembrance Sunday piece that Danny Boyle? Is that the guy's name? The director, Danny Boyle. To shoot a piece for I think it's Danny Boyle, as a Remembrance Sunday piece on a beach in Scotland. And it was this trip where...
Oh, that trip where I met you.
Yeah.
Where I no longer thought you were being a creep and I joined in. Yes.
Yes. So I headed up to Scotland, met you, picked you up on the way, and we went on a shoot for this project, and also just to shoot a few other little things whilst we were out. Since then, Sarah has been pretty hard to get rid of, and for real though, there was some sort of connection in how we both think, view the world, shoot, the things we enjoy doing, and the type of creature comforts that we have in life, where we both resonated quite strongly. And it seemed that we had a very good working relationship and friendship that enabled us to live in a van together for long periods of time. Off the back of this, it wasn't long before I was up on another trip with Sarah in the van again, and we were doing a much grander tour of most of Scotland, taking in Skye and hitting up some longer camps and some bothies and really exploring and living life to its fullest. I continued shooting for that stock image company that I did the shoot for in the previous video, and this really enabled me to have a bit of financial security whilst I was away. So off the back of this, I was really trying to maximise my time away and just hit it hard. This was giving me a big sense of freedom and helping me to grow my photography skills, grow my Instagram, and really get my name out there as a new freelancer. I spent as much time as I could away in the van, doing a couple of international trips to Iceland and Finland, as well as going on a bigger trip to the Galapagos Islands and Ecuador with Olympus. This was a really eye-opening experience for me because I hadn't been out of Europe before, and it's actually still the only time I've ever been out of Europe. And it was interesting to be that far away from home and experience a completely different culture. But if anything, it hasn't really driven me to do that again, not because I didn't enjoy it, but I just found myself whilst I was over there really missing the northern landscapes of Europe, and I couldn't wait to get back and get stuck into the stuff that I'm familiar with, as well as exploring new areas of Northern Europe. In the spring of 2019, I helped my friend Jack Harding and Kai Grossman run a photography workshop in Scotland. This was a really interesting and exciting experience where we took a group of people around the Highlands of Scotland in Land Rovers for a week, showing them the incredible landscape and teaching them photography skills so that they could take great images on the trip. I really enjoyed this teaching process, so much so that I actually did further workshops later on this year, and we've got a load coming up in the very near future, both in Scotland and some abroad as well, which is super exciting. We finished at the workshop, I picked up Sarah, and after a short little trip around the Highlands, we headed to the Lake District to conduct one of the most challenging shoots I'd say I'd done, which was for Berghaus shooting their spring-summer campaign. We had a load of clothes to shoot, and with the emphasis being on group shots, but only having me and Sarah as models, almost all the content was shot on a tripod and self-timer.
It was so challenging.
It was a big one.
So challenging.
It worked really well though, because whilst it took more time to get the shots, everything had to be more considered. You had to really think about the composition and the settings and make sure everything was really dialed in before doing it. So I think the results were actually pretty good, despite there just being two of us. On this shoot, we hit up a load of different locations in the Lake District, finishing up with a wild camp on the summit of Helvellyn, having a great sunrise. Actually one of my favourite adventures we've done.
It is still a highlight. I think that sunrise was just, obviously it's sunset, but that sunrise was just epic. That inversion where the clouds rolled over, like it's still very vivid in my memory. Yeah. Very beautiful.
Alongside this big commercial project, I was also still doing the stock image supply and trying to pick up a few extra little freelance Instagram influencer type jobs for various different brands. I was finding there was actually quite a smooth transition into this new career, but I really do believe that you make your own luck, and this was just the fruit of all the labour I'd put in over the last few years. All that hard work and dedication was starting to pay off, and taking my motivation and dedication into this career was really helping. By this point, Sarah was proving very difficult to get rid of, and she had moved into the van pretty much full time. The van was pretty small though, red van.
Yeah, red van.
And yeah, there was no...
That's fair.
There wasn't many home comforts in the red van though, and most of the time I had to cook outside. We also had no heating and no real comfort, so it was very cold most of the time. We had to wear loads of layers, like almost all the time, lots of hot water bottles.
Water bottles.
And we didn't really have anywhere to sit or work, so almost every day we'd have to go to a cafe, a restaurant or a pub just to find somewhere to sit down and edit images. All this made life in the red van pretty difficult, and it wasn't too long before I started wanting a little bit more. Whilst our existence was pretty rough and ready and sometimes cold and comfortable, we were both loving it though, or at least I was.
Sorry?
Whilst a bigger van would offer more comforts, I was loving the experience of being constantly on the road, moving around, travelling, and the uncomforts, the cold and the frustration of having to find somewhere to work. Whilst they were like negative points, I was still loving the lifestyle. I was pretty set on wanting to continue this nomadic travel in a van, and decided that I would start working towards getting a bigger van to help make that easier. As summer approached, I started researching the different kind of vans I'd want, but had to quickly pause all my work to head out to Chamonix on a week-long trip with my friend Alia, where we were attending the Arc'teryx Alpine Academy. Over the course of the week, we learned loads of new skills and put them into practice in the high mountains around Chamonix, having a great time and really experiencing some of the Alps, which I hadn't done too much before, but it's a place I always love to go back to. I headed home after Chamonix and put all my effort into finding a van before settling on and buying a Citroen Relay. It took me around 6 weeks of work over the summer to convert it into what we see here pretty much. Really tried to make it the perfect setup for our function, and the main priority with that is that I wanted a permanent bed and a permanent table, so that there's flexibility to move around, not have to pack stuff away, and just really make life as easy as possible. After all the inconvenience of the red van, I wanted this van to be as simple and comfortable as we could do. And throughout that summer, I worked really hard to put everything in I think we could need. The stove, the sink, the heater, power, inverters, our plug sockets. Trying to focus on getting as much into this van as possible to make our life away on the road as comfortable and enjoyable as it could be. Hitting the road again that autumn felt like a completely new experience. The transition from the old red van, which was essentially just a box on wheels, into this was game changing. We hit the road again and spent most of that autumn in the new van, really embracing everything it offered. Being able to have heating, clean clothes, comfortable spaces to work, being able to park up and spend days away from civilization really opened so many opportunities for us and completely changed the way that we live, travel and work. We were still shooting quite a lot of campaigns for Instagram. Both of us did another shoot for Berghaus. Me shooting a campaign in Glencoe, and Sarah went to Ireland to shoot a campaign with our friend Callum. All of this was just really building an exciting lifestyle for us, and we were seeing these opportunities crop up all over the place. Me and Sarah ran a workshop for Arc'teryx where we took a group of photographers out in the Lake District for 2 days, teaching them some skills and talking them through our processes and how we work. We also went to Iceland and did a shoot for a company called Great Orc where we toured around, really making the most of the landscape and shooting this jacket in the incredible Icelandic landscape. It felt great to be only a year into my freelance career, but already getting these huge opportunities and feeling everything just go from strength to strength. Winter hit and we started hitting the mountains hard. With the snow, we did Stob Jedug in Glencoe, had a great time up there before moving further north, tackling Leothach Ridge and the Falcon Ridge, all in before Christmas. I remember driving home for that Christmas period, really reflecting on everything I'd achieved within that last year and feeling that it was really giving a justification for all the hard work I'd put in up to that point on my photography career. It felt like the journey was really beginning to flourish and I couldn't wait to see what was next and what was in store for me in 2020.
What a joke. Can I?
Yeah, you can turn the heat on.
I'm good.
2020 though, didn't quite go as I would have envisioned it. I did do a full video on everything I did in 2020. We don't need to relive that year again, but if you do want to watch that video, I will link it up here. 2021 started and I began vlogging more regularly, especially into that lockdown series. Did quite a few vlogs over the start of this before my lockdown experience became very Groundhog Day driven, where every day felt exactly the same. My lifestyle on the road over the last few years has been one of change and constant movement and excitement and trying to progress and wonder what else is out there. And lockdown really forced me into this sort of cage where I wasn't able to escape the house or my local area and spent a lot of my time on my own. I think I really used this time for myself though, and used it, and rather than considering it as time that was limiting me in many aspects of my life, I wanted to find ways that I could make it work for me. So I spent a lot of this time working on my health, my fitness, challenging myself in different aspects and trying to improve and just change the way my thought process worked. So whilst I wasn't really advancing too much creatively and did hit a few roadblocks in terms of my creative motivation, my motivation in other aspects of my life did increase. Which brings us up to where we are now, in the van in the Lake District. Over the last few weeks I've been working hard, making many improvements to the van. There's a few extra shelves I've put in, I've replaced some of the cupboards. Really worked just to improve all the little details that you realise annoy you as you start living and using it regularly. I've also been packing up my house, selling a lot of my possessions and really trying to minimise my life so that I can move everything I own into the van, which is now my home. I don't really know how long this will be home, but for the foreseeable future, this is it. So I'm going to be living in the van full time. It's going to be an exciting journey and I can't wait to get started on this new chapter and see where it goes next. I've got some big stuff planned, kicking off with a shoot that's happening tomorrow. I think we're shooting tomorrow. And then we're heading all the way down to the south coast to start a big journey that goes all the way around the UK in the van.
For 100 days.
100 days drive around the UK. We've also got some other big trips planned, hopefully going to Chamonix, hopefully doing many cool things over the next year. So we will catch you next time.